Alright, you need to make sure you're making a title page for chapter 10 here. Alright, so this chapter is completely on Thomas Jefferson as president. We'll start with him taking office and how that election works, because it's a very interesting election. And we'll talk about the problem, actually some of the things he puts into place right away as president. Louisiana Purchase is in here, and the explorations that go with it. Some of the problems that he will have to deal with, especially with foreign problems. And then this is another war chapter. We will get to the war at the end, the War of 1812. It will be the last time that we will fight the British. So the War of 1812 will happen here. So, and we also will get a new president, too, by the end of this chapter. So most of this chapter is dedicated to Thomas Jefferson, but by the end, we'll be getting a new president. I'm going to give you some trivia facts about Thomas Jefferson before we move on. Okay, Thomas Jefferson, third president of the United States, probably one of the busiest. He was up before 5 a.m. to study things like zoology, agriculture, religion. After 8, he moved on to politics and law, and by the afternoon he was studying history. After this, he took a 2-mile run in the country, practiced his violin for 3 hours, and wound down each night reading literature and studying languages. Somehow he had time to invent the swivel chair, folding ladder, pedometer, letter copier, and walking stick that converted into a chair. He was responsible for some of our greatest foods, such as waffles, macaroni and cheese, French fries. He was a farmer ahead of his time. He produced crops such as tomatoes, and at the time people were afraid to eat them because they thought that they were poisonous. He produced oranges, rice, garlic, grapes for making wine. He considered his best achievement in writing the Declaration of Independence. He was a self-taught architect who designed and built his own estate, Monticello. He only made 2 speeches during his entire presidency, and both of them were his inauguration speeches. He approved Lewis and Clark expedition. He is the president with the most living descendants. He bought the Louisiana Territory from France for $15 million, which was 4 cents an acre. Can't beat that. Had 2 grizzly bears given to him by Lewis and Clark, and he kept them on the White House lawn in some cages. He entered a contest to design the White House under an anonymous name, and he lost and was quite upset. He replaced the formal presidential bow, with a regular old handshake. Let's see. Founded the Democrat-Republican Party. His favorite subject was math. The Library of Congress was made up of more than 6,000 of Thomas Jefferson's personally owned books. He sold them to help the Library of Congress get started. He died on July 4th, which was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration. First president to be inaugurated in D.C. Lobbied against slavery his whole life, but he owned slaves himself. One of his slaves, Sally Hemings, was the half-sister of his wife. And then, when his wife died, he had a romance with her. Then the press tried to turn it into a scandal. Jefferson never acknowledged it happened or denied that it happened. He had a total of, for pets, 2 dogs, 8 birds, 2 bears, and 9 horses. Yeah, the bears were given by Lewis and Clark, remember? And so he was a very tall president, 6 feet 2 inches tall. When we go to D.C., we will see the Jefferson Memorial, which is it's a really cool memorial. He's very tall, and we'll see that. Dev.
How did he die?
Just like he got a disease. He might have had throat or something. He was old, got sick, and when you get sick back then, it's all downhill. Okay, so we're going to be doing a little warm-up on section 1. So I think you're going to need to be on 315. For the warm-up, anything in blue you don't have to write. There's only like a line in blue you don't have to write. The black stuff, write. Remember, write out the questions or you lose points if you don't. Okay? So, for the first question, it says to read the voice from the past on 315. And that part of that is from his inauguration speech. I want you to find out what is Jefferson urging Americans to do. And after you've answered that, read that, the second question says, what might George Washington have said in reply to this advice? Okay? Give you a little bit of time and then we'll discuss this. Let us then, fellow citizens, unite with one heart and one mind Every difference of opinion is not a difference of principle. We are all Republicans. We are all Federalists. So it's from his first inaugural address. What's he urging Americans to do here? What is he urging Americans to do, Dev?
To unite and to make a powerful country.
To unite, to come together. And what do you think he means, we are all Republicans, we are all Federalists? What do you think he means, Brennan?
We are all people.
We're all people? Okay. Anything else? What do you think about that? What does he mean by that, Dev?
Equality, basically.
Kind of equality. Yeah, we all have political parties. We're Federalists, we're Republicans, but we are all Americans, is what he's trying to say. We're all Americans. We should come together and, try to work out the differences that we have politically and, work together. He's not trying to say eliminate political parties. He's just trying to say try to put differences aside at sometimes and unite as one country. So George Washington, he's gone. He's dead now, so he didn't get to hear this. But what do you think he would have said in reply to Jefferson's advice? What do you think he would have said? Braden, what do you think he would have said? Think about what Washington said in his farewell address.
I think we would have agreed with him.
Would have agreed? Why would you think he would agree?
Because he was saying to not split up the nation into political parties.
Yep, and what was something that Washington was probably against? What was Washington against, Brett? Think of his farewell address. What did he warn people to do?
To stay united.
Stay united, stay away from political parties, stay away from political division. So George Washington would have probably agreed with him and said, yeah, he liked this piece of advice. Okay? And that was from his inaugural address. So you can tell one of his goals as a president is going to be bring the country together and unite. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to thrive as a country, and it's such a young country. This section, it's interesting because Jefferson's election, him becoming president, well, it was a tie first. There was a tie, a very first tie. And so you're going to read about how they broke the tie and figured out who becomes president. And then his vice president, Aaron Burr, you'll read some interesting things about him. If you look over on 314 there, the guy shooting that gun there is Thomas Jefferson's vice president. I encourage you to read that little off-to-the-side thing about him when you're doing this. It also talks about his philosophy and then some of the things that he got rid of that John Adams put in place as president that he got rid of and started putting in place his own type of things that went with more his political party. So what I want you to do for Monday, read the whole section. It's interesting. There's good stuff in there, so make sure you read the whole section. But also do the terms in your journal. Title it Section 1 Terms. You've got 6 terms. Radical Judiciary Act of 1801, John Marshall, Marbury versus Madison, unconstitutional, and judicial review. So make sure you are reading the whole section. Read the American story, read all the stuff off to the side, and then do the terms, and then we'll start working on the notes on Monday. Okay? If I see you get done real quickly, then I'm going to know you didn't read. Okay? So